pick up a Bible and don't understand what they're reading, but maybe you're afraid to say anything or just don't know where to go for help on this. Clarence Whetstone is with us. He's in our virtual green room right now, and his book is all about that. Help me understand the Bible. Clarence, thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you. Glad for the opportunity.
So what made you write this book?
I grew up in the Bible. My father was a pastor. I was saturated with the Bible as soon as I could talk. As I became a youth, I became aware that many people I knew moved about in the Bible with ease, but others, for them, the Bible was a closed book. They had tried several times and failed and just given up. They couldn't understand it. They had to rely on the Bible telling them what the pastor meant. I didn't say what it meant. Relying on the pastor to tell them what the Bible meant. There, I got it.
So because of that, you decided you would delve deeper. And I think you told me this off the air. How many, like you said, you knew it as a kid. How many times have you really read this through? Many, many times, right?
Oh, many, many times. All my life.
Yeah, wow, that's wild. So probably anybody could point to any verse or any page or whatever, and you would be able to nail it. What did you, when you tackled this, how'd you go about breaking it down? How do you break down the book?
Well, I started writing to sort of solve the problems I had run into. I had 1 year of seminary and became so disillusioned with what I was being presented that I came out of seminary and I continued wrestling with the questions seminary posed for 10 years. And I finally began to write for myself the conclusions I had come to.
Yeah, it's interesting. You say, when you look at the Bible with American eyes, you completely miss or misunderstand a lot of it because it's an old Middle Eastern book. And you say to really understand it, you have to understand their culture, theology, language, and thinking. That's true, isn't it? So in translating it, the figures of speech, all of that are what a lot of us don't understand.
That's right. The symbols, the figures of speech, and their comparisons, what the English teacher would call idioms or metaphors or similes. We so often don't understand that we try to give a literal meaning to them, and we miss the point completely.
Yeah. So when somebody does it, it's interesting. Before you open the Bible, I guess it's this, in a way, it's like having a cheat sheet to understand it. You have the ultimate cheat sheet. That's what I think of. Is that right? Do you feel that way?
That is right. This is a guide to how to approach the Bible, and once you're in it, it gives you help on the symbols, on the figures of speech, on the comparisons and metaphors, so that the verses can be opened for you.
Yeah. What's tougher, the Old Testament, the Old Covenant, or the New Testament, the New Covenant?
Oh, I think the Old is for us because the heart of the Bible is the beginning of the New Testament. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That's the life of Jesus, his ministry, his death, his resurrection. That's the heart of the Bible. The Old Testament is looking forward to that, and Jesus is that fulfillment. And then the rest of the New Testament is how the early church worked out their living for their new Savior.
When people read Help Me Understand the Bible, which you can get on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, what do you hope people take away from reading it?
Well, I suppose the first thing that I would hope for is that they would not start to read the Bible at the beginning. Because the Old Testament is apt to snow you in the genealogies and so on you find in the 10th chapter of Genesis. And people give up about that point. Instead, if they start to read in the New Testament, as we just said, they read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and saturate themselves with the life of Jesus, then the rest of the Bible becomes understandable.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you go ahead.
A second point I would like to make is don't read an old translation, get a modern translation, and I recommend for the beginner the Message, 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 which means this is God's message to us, and it's a paraphrase. It's in street language. It's easy to understand. For the person who is a little bit grounded, I recommend the New International Version, NIV, or the New Living Translation, NLT. Those are the ones that I use most. And if someone is a real student of the Bible, then they're looking at the deep meanings of each word. Then in the New American Standard Translation, which is the most accurate word-for-word translation. But I'm enjoying The Voice. It's another translation that is very, very easy to read and easy to understand.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was going to ask you that question, so you knocked it down for us, just like your guide does. So again, help me understand the Bible, Clarence Whetstone. Thanks for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.